Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. We're going out of the matrix into prime reality. Thank you for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube. And when I say out of the matrix into prime reality, I really mean it. By the way, today is also allegedly the day of the rapture. So maybe you've been raptured this morning. We had a heavy flood, really was like very heavy rainfall, but here we are. And unless the rapture happens later in the afternoon, we're still going to be here tomorrow, and do what we have been doing. So, friends, the last few weeks have been yet, intensifying in the psychological operation that so many people call a movie. And over the last years, whether you are new to this field of conspiracies and research and truth and freedom, and this is sort of fairly new, whether you are seasoned like many of our viewers and have been around for a while, it's a legitimate question. So I just want to quickly explain where this even comes from. So most of you have heard of the Q movement, or Q as being a military insider, a military operation behind the scenes that appeared in late 2017 on various, on I think it started on 8chan and then 4chan, or the other way around. I always forget. Anyways, and then there were these drops started to be posted, and people started catching on to this, and it created this massive movement. Now, granted, and I will say this over and over again, there are way too many synchronicities and way too many sort of alignments between the information, what's happening in the world, for this to just be some random thing. It is an operation, no doubt about it. But part of that operation was a signal to the anons, to people that followed along, which is you are watching a movie. It's everything is just a scripted operation. Everything that you see on the screens in the Trump administration, in the Biden administration, the first Trump administration, it's all a movie. It's all scripted. And the people that are appearing, according to these folks, aren't really the people that you think they are. They're mostly actors wearing masks or clones, or anyway. So the question is, specifically in the last few weeks, we've seen plot twists. We've seen big, massively orchestrated events like the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Basically, I think it was like a commercial for fireworks. I've never seen anything like it, and I really just watched a little bit because I wanted to know what was happening. And so the question that people are asking is, are we really watching a movie? Is this all fake? Is this all scripted? And it's the wrong question, because if you haven't figured it out by now, yes, it is a movie. However, it's always been a movie. Everything that we have watched that was presented to us in the world affairs, politics, geopolitics, warfare, finance, all of this, for the lack of a better term, is a movie. It's an orchestration. It's a carefully crafted narrative, a script. And the actors, the players in the movie that play their roles, are usually very well aware that they play a role. That doesn't mean that they don't identify with their role, believe even in their role, but they know it's ultimately for the benefit of the masses. So to give them something to follow along with. Why this movie in the last few years has attracted so many onlookers and viewers, it's because of the bizarre meter having been turned up so high, which needed to happen. Why? Well, I'll tell you what happened before Trump's arrival on a political scene. You had, just from a US perspective, which was always leading the show of politics, always, because, most people are not aware what is happening one or two countries over from where they live, but most people are very aware all over the world what's happening inside of America. So, because it's the capital of broadcasting the show. And so what happened was we had the George W. Bush administration, which was sort of that was starting the downfall of how people viewed this nation. And then you had the big, hope and change. You had Barack Obama, that actor moving in, Barry Soetoro, coming into the role of president. And what that really did was it disillusioned a lot of people. Barack Obama being the hope, being the change, being all of the above, and then, what reality really presented was none of that. So the truth was that many, many people got disillusioned and turned it off. More people than you think walked away from watching the movie, from following along, from being addicted to the information, to the news. Everything started to come down, and people actually started. That was sort of one of the big awakening moments, was that decade between 2010 and 2000, or half of that decade, 2015, really, after the crash, and then onward, people started to step away. And then with the introduction of Trump into the field of politics, a whole new level of movie appeared, of course, and that's what brought people back in. And then you bring into that, shortly after Trump's election and him being inaugurated, you had the Q movement that came in, right? So now you had the narrative. Now millions of people started following and buying into it. And so, yes, it is more bizarre than it's ever been. It's more obvious than it's ever been. However, go back to the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. It's always been a movie, an orchestration. So this is not the question whether we're watching one. The real question is, why are so many people watching and not writing their own movie? Let's go a step higher up. Let's go beyond politics. Let's go a little more metaphysical. This is a dream world. Like literally a dream world. It's like, whether you call it a dream world, the Maya, the great illusion, the physical illusion, or whether you call it the simulation or the matrix or the construct, the principle remains that this is an illusory reality, a temporary one that we're in right now. And everything, basically, you could call it that. Everything is a story. Everything is a movie. The question is, why do you continue to follow along with the narratives in the movie out there versus starting to write your own movie, starting to write the story of your own life, and most importantly, casting yourself as the leading role? There's a few decisions that people have to make, because this is only going to get more bizarre out there. It's only going to get crazier and weirder and weirder. Remember Terrence McKenna? Remember the guy? Very, very strange guy, especially at the time, in the 90s and late 90s, when he said, it's going to get weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And boy, are we in weirdo territory, I'm daily reminded of the movie Idiocracy, which is supposed to be a sort of a little trashy comedy, if you will. But boy, if you watch that movie, sort of portrayed society that we're in now. So what really this moment asks us is, are we going to play the extra in this strange dystopian, comical, bizarre horror movie that's playing out there, or are we casting ourselves as the leading role? And I am incredibly thankful and appreciative, blessed to witness this, that so many of you who've been here for a while, been with us, have already started that process. More than ever, over and over, we get those messages, those emails, people in our locals community, in our subscriber community, that show us and tell us how they have started truly withdrawing their energy from the crap and investing it in building their best possible life, in creating their best possible movie. And that's really what I would encourage everyone to do. And the first question you got to ask is, what genre is your movie going to be? For most people, it's the default setting is drama. It's like that's their life, is drama. And I would say now that that's a choice. I mean, you can make it a comedy. You can make it whatever you want to do. You can keep it a drama. You can also make it an inspiring story, but like those, if you're like me, maybe you enjoy one of those really good sports movies or athletic movies where there's an inspirational story, sort of. Uh, it's about the story, not the sport always. Or you just like the kind of story that shows someone in a limited environment with, sort of tough upbringing or whatever, something like that, and then that person transforms themselves and actually steps out of their old belief systems and creates a new life for themselves. I love those stories. I mean, I can watch a good movie like that anytime. So the first question is, what genre? I like the inspired, sort of the epic movie. So I picked for myself. I like bigger than life stories. So then the next question is, who's going to be the leading role in your movie? You know, you got to pick a leading role. There's obviously going to be, co-leading roles with you. You're the number one, but then there's going to be the closest people in your life, your wife, your husband, your spouse, your children are obviously, co-leads in the movie. And also, you got to pick who the extras are going to be. Who are the people that are going to play a role, small or big, in your movie? Now, all of them should support the movie, which is what? The script. The script is your vision. So that's what you write out. You write out how your movie is supposed to play. What do you want to feel in it? What do you want to see in it? Because movies are all about feeling. People think they're about everything else, but no, a movie is only good when you sit there and for 2 hours or however long, you forget anything that's going on around you. You forget this is a movie. You are in it. You're emotionally invested. That's a good movie. So the script, the vision of your life. Why do you think they invented movies and television? Why did they invent television? Well, because they knew if they didn't project a vision into your brain, you were going to do it yourself. And God knows what kind of stuff you might come up with that might be against their story. So they created tell a vision, so they could tell you what to think about, tell you what to believe, tell you what to infuse your mind with. It's not television anymore so much today. It's more like screens in general, but still the same principle applies. So what's your vision? What is the script? Imagine sitting in the future, 3-4 years in the future, 3-4 months, doesn't matter, and you writing the script out as a memory. What would you like to write out? How would you like it to sound, to feel? Is it about excitement and adventure? Is it about calm and serenity? Do you want that kind of movie where you sit in between the flowers and you meditate? Or do you want that kind where you travel and where you go on adventures and discover new things and meet new people? That's your movie. You write it. But it's time to write it. It's time to script it. The extras, cast, that's really, really important. And then you got to remember that you're the director too. You're not just the writer, you're the director. So every scene that comes up, every new day is an opportunity. How do you write the new day? What scenes are going to be in there? You see, these folks, and I say this literally, that's how they script reality. You have to know this. And if you want to, there's glimpses for you to discover through pop culture, through books where this is explained or shown. But a really good example, I mentioned it recently, is the movie Wag the Dog. Okay. Remember Robert De Niro in the 90s, Wag the Dog. And basically the storyline was that the president was in deep trouble with some young girl. It was a huge scandal. And they needed a distraction from that. So what did they do? They orchestrated a fake war. They brought in one of the best Hollywood directors, and then there was this guy that was some intelligence, that was played by Robert De Niro. He was sort of deeply embedded in the circle of the president, an orchestrator, a director of illusions, if you will. And he brought in a Hollywood crew and a Hollywood director and had them orchestrate this whole fake war that was playing out in the media, that was shown to the people, so that they had something to, something to watch, something to get emotional about. And they created these movements and a fake song that supposedly was 80 years old. And it was this whole spiel, only to distract from the fact that the president, had a young girl in his bed, and people shouldn't know about this. It was problematic. In the end, by the way, the director, played by Dustin Hoffman, was so excited about his work that he couldn't possibly imagine to stay quiet about it. He said, "This is my best work ever. This is the best movie I've ever directed, and nobody's going to know about it." And they couldn't take that chance. So the director, played by Dustin Hoffman, I think had a heart attack in the movie. And this is how it goes, folks. This is what happens. You get a heart attack, you catch a bullet, one of those things. And that's how the movie keeps on rolling out there. But these folks are literally scripting movies and theater on the big stage, on the big world stage, to capture your mind, to capture your heart, to capture your emotions, to keep you entangled in their web. So the first step out of the matrix is to stop being so inundated. And also, what I noticed about those movie watchers is they're waiting. They're professional waiters. They wait for something. They wait and wait and wait. They've been waiting ever since they found out that this is a movie. I'm sorry, are we frozen? It could be that we're frozen. Do we still have audio? Let us know in the comments, please. Yeah, no, it's not. So it's probably a camera issue. So if we're frozen, my apologies.
You don't look that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. We're just gonna, yes, frozen, but you have audio, so we're gonna keep going here. Probably better than trying to fix it for now. But the bottom line is that nobody is going to, this is not going to stop. Like, people think this movie is going to stop, and they're going to at some point tell you, at some point they're going to let you know that it was all just fake, and it was all, and that never happens. That point's not going to come. It goes against everything that these folks stand for. And even though it appears that we have new actors in this movie, they still follow the script of the same directors that have always been there. So I'll ask this question one more time for everyone who's still waiting, for everyone who isn't ready to write their own script. What would it take? What would it take to make that happen? What would it take for you to go in and start writing your own movie? I'll leave it at that. I wanted this to be purposefully short today, and I think the camera froze. It's sort of very, very symbolic, isn't it? It's when the movie out there stops. So the movie today, the camera stopped here, showing you something. It's time to click off. It's time to log off. It's time to, close the app, close the screen for the day, and focus on you and becoming the best possible version of yourself. Do what you can with what you have where you are. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And let me also say this. Outside of the fake movie that we've been watching our lives out there, there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of experiences to be had. There's a lot of beauty. And the more that you focus on that, which I call the Joyspiracy, my friends, it's the real thing. We're starting the Joyspiracy. It's a conspiracy for joy. Okay, we conspire openly to experience more joy. So write joy into that movie and give yourself permission to feel it. The more that you feel it, the more is going to be brought to you. And yes, from left and right and front and center and the back and every direction, the movie's going to try to catch up with you. It's going to make you think that the circumstances are so dire that the truths don't apply anymore, that you are not the director. But you've always been that. You will always be that. The truths are always the truths. Over human history, people have believed in some crazy things. It never changed the truth. It just changed how they lived their lives. They believed in something ridiculous and something so crazy that they lived their lives according to that. We have that same sinister opportunity. By listening and watching the movie out there, we can also believe that it's all sinister, it's all bad, um, or it's all so controlled that there's nothing we can do. It's simply not true. So the movement for joy, for sovereignty, for freedom, every area of your life where you become the director and script your movie and live it, you become uncontrollable. You become unenslavable. You become the real you. You know, I could think of worse things. So let me know. Let us know in the comments. Um, if you have started already, how have you started? Like, how has your life changed? How have you taken responsibility? How have you taken charge and action? What have you changed? Or what are you currently scripting in your movie that is that you're about to change? And do something for yourself today that your future self will thank you for. Do at least one thing every day that your future self will thank you for. Once again, I apologize for the video problems, but I think it's highly symbolic, synchronistic that the movie, so to speak, would stop playing on the screen. All right, my friend. I also
Oh, sorry. Please tell people that they should join us on the
Yes, I also wanted to just say, we'd love to invite you to come over to Locals, inspired.locals.com. Recently, we've shared a lot from the farm here, from the Big Bear Farm. Our farm adventures today, a little flood. We're going to share about that later. Um, Interesting to find out, when how your land reacts to a lot of water. Interesting, very interesting. But also, we share about the goats and the chickens, the eggs, and everything in between, the garden and everything that's going on the farm here. And I hope, I trust it's inspiring, inspires people. And I know a lot of our core audience are either farmers or have their gardens or are becoming self-sustainable in the works of it, which warms my heart. All right, friends, that's at inspired.locals.com. Please join us there, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Much love, many blessings. We'll be with you again very, very soon. Christine and I would love to invite you into something really special. We started a new show on Locals called Farm Tales, where we share the real stories from our homestead, the animals, the garden, the beauty, and even the funny mishaps along the way. Just like all of our work, it's about living consciously in harmony with nature and creating a life of true freedom. Please click the link down below and join us for Farm Tales on Locals. We would love to see you there.